Hello everyone. Today we are going to see how we can scrape the Yahoo Finance World Indices data live. Right? We'll use Beautiful Soup with Python to be able to scrape the world indices from Yahoo Finance. You can use this technique across the board then to whatever else you want. Right? So the boilerplate code that we're going to use for this, I've already sort of loaded up the main thing, so I don't want to type this long weird strings. Is first of all import Beautiful Soup, install it if you don't have it, import the request module which is inbuilt into Python. I've loaded up the URL, the world indices URL, and the user agent string. I've set that to Safari on a Macintosh. So if you don't set it, most websites will block you if you identify yourself as anything that they don't recognize, especially a web crawler. So first of all, before we do anything, we need to fetch the data. Without that, we can't use Beautiful Soup. So Beautiful Soup won't fetch you the data. So what we are doing is using the request module. The way to do it is simply call request.get, and then call the URL, and then pass the headers, and then pass the variable header that we've set already. Now correct all of this into the response object, and there you go. You got yourself data, HTML data. Now this is not enough. We need to convert that into and soup it up a little bit. So what we'll do is use Beautiful Soup and pass the response object dot content, because that's where the HTML is. And also we're going to ask Beautiful Soup to parse that as into an XML document, so which you can query and select. So we'll pass it into a soup variable, and bingo, you got everything that you need. And we're going to save this as Yahoo world indices.com .py, not .com. Can't save a website from here. I'm going to go back here and see what it takes now to actually scrape this data. So we're going to inspect it and see straight away that all of this data is neatly arranged in a table, and the HTML table, no surprise. Inside of that there is a table row. Each of those rows occupy one particular indices and then inside of that each of those table cells are in the TD tag, right? And then as we pass, you can see the sort of the selector move, and then it's conveniently named with the class data call 0, data call 1, data call 2, each of those columns, right? And you can see that the data row is also with the class data row, and then it is attached. There's some gibberish at the end. So the challenge will be to separate that, right? So we just need the one that starts with data row, the class name data row. So what we'll do is we'll use a CSS selector trick here. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll say soup dot select. That's how you narrow down to a particular portion. Right? Select everything which has this class name, or this all elements which have this ID. So you put the ID here, or even tags. So let's say I want to select H1 tags. I can do whatever I want, just like jQuery. You can use that as a selector. In this case, we're going to use class name, the dot, but I'm not going to go with that. I'm actually going to explicitly name the attribute class equals, right? And in this case, we have this weird class name data row, whatever, right? So let's just copy the whole thing. Right? You can see now that the class name, sorry, the D, I'm going to take manually put it there. Yeah. So you can see BSES is the first symbol's name. So if for each symbol they've attached a class name with an extension like that. So I don't want that because that keeps changing, right, between rows. If I'm not mistaken, let me see. Yeah, you can see NSCI, DJI, IXIC. So each data row class has that little attachment towards the end of it. All right. So what I'll do now is I will Sorry about that. I'm going to simply use the operator star to tell the soup that I need anything with the data row, um, with the words data row, the string data row in its class name. I don't want it to be an exact match. I want anything which has that in it, right? And once I do that, I get um, this will give me all the rows which have data row in it, right, as an array. So what I can then do is I can just run through it as a for each, right? For item in, I can go like that. And then let's see if I can print those items and see if it separates everything neatly into rows for me. Right, so I'm going to save that and go here and run Python 3 Yahoo indices.py. There you go. Well, it's a lot of gibberish. So what I'll do is I'll just go back and print something which is like a separator here, so that content sort of makes sense a little bit more. There you go. So you can see that the tr is starting with the tr and ending with it. The whole HTML is reduced to these tr tags, which mean the table rows. Now all we need to do is query within this. Right? So this whole technique of using a wildcard star operator is working for us. So let's now see what else we can do within it. All right. So let's just see if we can get one piece of data, one column of data. So let me go drill down inside this. So if you see here, data column 0 gives me the symbol itself. Let's get that out. I'm just going to call data call 0. Take that with me and put it here. So let's see how we can use this. So the way we will use it is we're going to use the item and query within that, not the entire document, right? Inside each item, that means inside each row, give me the same way you gave me earlier, which is class equals data call 0. Just give me that. And then I'm going to go, but this will give me an array, okay? Because even though there's only one data call 0 for one item, which is one tr, it'll still give me an array. So what I'll start to do is I'm forced to actually select the first item of that array, even though I know it's only going to be one, but the program doesn't know that. So then I will say, this is not enough because I don't need the HTML, I need the text. So there's a function in soup which removes the HTML, gives me only text. So get text. Beautiful, simple function. Just for this function, people use beautiful soup. And I'm going to print the entire that thing. And let's now see, which is removing this item gibberish, see if we can get the first symbol. Let's run the same thing again. Ouch. Out of range. I've done some error. Let's see what I've done. Well, to call 0. I think we don't need such elaborate things. I'm just going to call it that. Use the dot operator and see what happens. I think otherwise we may have to enclose this in some sort of double quotes. And let me just see. Select. Yeah, here we go. Got it. Okay, so we got all the little the indices, which is the symbols here, and we got that printed. So now in the same way, can we get the rest of it? So I think we just have to go through all the data columns here till, let's say, volume. And so volume comes at 5, which leaves us 6 columns totally. So let's just copy 5 more of this. Oops. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if I print it, yeah, that'll give me all the indices for all the indices. All right, here we go. That's it, guys. So now you can do whatever you want with this data. You can run it real time. So every little blip in that, you can pick it up. In this case, if you want to do that, if you want to scale this, make sure you change the user agent every time you request. I would suggest pull out a bunch of user agents from the internet and actually make it an array and then randomize that array every time you call. If you really want to scale, then you'll have to change your IP address as well. So for that, you can use a proxy service like what I have. I own this called proxiesapi.com. I provide an API which you can just call and pass the Yahoo Finance URL itself as the endpoint here. Okay? And then I will route. You don't call that directly. You just call my API and then pass that as if it's a variable. And if you pass the API key, which you can get for free, you'll get 1,000 API calls and no credit card, nothing required. Just sign up and you'll get it in 2 minutes. We handle everything. We'll route you through a pool of about 2 million proxies. We automatically retry your requests, right? And then change your browser entry using the user agents. You don't have to do any of that, right? And even solve captchas, even render JavaScript for you. All of that behind the scenes by just calling one URL. Right? You can study more, you can do more advanced stuff with it, and super scalable. Use this, or if you don't, that's fine. Hope you enjoyed at least this part of the code and you learned something today. I enjoyed teaching it. Thank you.